Most men spend years trying to become more attractive. They work harder, make more money, improve their appearance, learn what to say, how to text, how to keep a woman interested, and yet, many still end up confused, because attraction is rarely as logical as people think. In fact, one of the biggest mistakes men make is believing attraction is built only through effort, more attention, more validation, more chasing, more proving, but often, those behaviors slowly destroy attraction instead of building it. Because women rarely connect deeply with desperation, they connect with emotional energy, with presence, with calmness, with the feeling that a man is emotionally grounded within himself, and most men never realize this, until it's already too late. That's the painful part. Attraction rarely dies loudly, it fades quietly, and most men never even notice it happening, through emotional instability, neediness, over-explaining, lack of direction, lack of self-control, not because a man was bad, but because he never truly understood what women emotionally respond to beneath the surface. Because female attraction is deeply psychological, women notice things many men completely overlook: how you react under pressure, how you handle silence, how emotionally stable you remain during uncertainty, whether your confidence feels calm or performative, whether your presence creates peace or emotional tension. And the truth is, most attraction begins long before words ever do. It begins through emotional experience, how someone feels around you. That's why some men become unforgettable without even trying, while others try endlessly, and still feel invisible. And honestly, no one really teaches men this. Most men learn it through heartbreak, through rejection, through losing someone they thought would stay forever. That's how these lessons usually arrive, too late. But once you understand these deeper psychological patterns, everything changes. You stop chasing attention. Stop trying to force connection, stop needing constant validation just to feel valuable, and instead, you begin becoming the kind of man women naturally feel drawn toward, not because you're pretending to be powerful, but because you finally become emotionally grounded within yourself. So today, we're going deep into 9 female psychology truths most men learn far too late. Not manipulation, not pickup tricks, but timeless emotional patterns rooted in human nature, attraction, and psychology. And the first one may be the most important of all, because before a woman deeply trusts your confidence, she quietly asks herself one question: do I feel emotionally safe around this man? One of the biggest misconceptions about attraction is this: most men think women primarily fall for excitement, but excitement alone cannot sustain emotional connection. Excitement creates sparks, emotional safety creates attachment, and whether women consciously realize it or not, they are constantly observing one thing beneath the surface: how emotionally stable are you under pressure? Not when life feels easy, not during the honeymoon phase, not when everything is going your way, but during tension, during uncertainty, during emotional discomfort, because difficult moments reveal what confidence is actually made of. Anyone can appear calm when they feel admired, but pressure reveals the nervous system underneath the performance, and women notice this immediately, more than most men realize. When conflict appears, does your energy become chaotic? When she becomes emotional, do you instantly become reactive? When distance appears, do you panic and chase? Because emotional instability changes attraction faster than almost anything else. Not overnight, quietly. A man may look attractive physically, charming socially, confident externally, but if his emotions constantly collapse under pressure, women slowly stop feeling emotionally safe around him, and once emotional safety disappears, attraction often begins fading in silence. That's the part nobody warns men about. Women are deeply affected by emotional atmosphere. A calm man can calm an entire room, while an emotionally reactive man spreads tension everywhere he goes, and eventually, living inside constant emotional instability becomes exhausting. There's a reason many relationships slowly die, not from one huge betrayal, but from repeated emotional chaos, defensiveness, mood swings, overreactions, constant emotional pressure. One woman once described it perfectly after leaving a relationship. She said, "I never felt like I could fully relax around him," and honestly, that sentence ends more relationships than cheating ever does, because deep attraction is not only about desire, it's also about nervous system trust, feeling emotionally safe enough to soften around someone, and this is where Stoic emotional control becomes deeply attractive, not because Stoic men suppress emotion, but because they are not ruled by emotion. They feel anger, without exploding, feel pain, without collapsing, feel uncertainty, without becoming emotionally destructive. That emotional steadiness feels rare today, especially in a world where most people react impulsively to every discomfort they feel, but grounded men move differently. They pause before reacting, breathe before speaking, observe before escalating, and that self-control creates something powerful: trust, because emotional safety is not created through promises, it is created through consistent emotional behavior over time, through your tone, your reactions, your ability to remain emotionally centered when life becomes uncomfortable. And perhaps that is why emotionally grounded men leave such a deep impression, because deep down, every woman wants to feel that the man beside her can remain steady, even when life is not. And once a woman feels emotionally safe around a man, something else quietly begins to grow: curiosity, because attraction does not survive on comfort alone, it also needs emotional tension, the feeling that there is still something left to discover. And this is where many men unintentionally destroy attraction without realizing it. They reveal everything too quickly: every thought, every emotion, every insecurity, every detail of their life offered immediately in exchange for connection. At first, it may seem honest, even romantic, but over time, something subtle begins disappearing: anticipation. And anticipation is deeply emotional. Think about the early stages of attraction: the waiting, the wondering, the unanswered curiosity that quietly keeps someone on your mind. When will I hear from him again? What is he doing right now? Why does his energy feel different? That emotional space matters more than most men realize, because imagination amplifies attraction, and imagination only exists when there is still something unknown. But modern dating has made many men terrified of uncertainty. The moment they feel connection, they rush to secure it. They text constantly, over-explain themselves, become permanently available, reveal every emotion immediately, almost as if they believe constant access will create deeper attachment. But ironically, too much certainty often kills emotional tension, because when nothing can be lost anymore, people slowly stop valuing it. That's the part nobody talks about. Attraction rarely disappears in one dramatic moment. It slowly fades through overexposure. When nothing feels rare anymore, nothing feels emotionally earned, and human beings naturally value what feels meaningful, layered, and slowly discovered. There's an old story about two men trying to build connection with the same woman. The first man constantly chased conversation, constantly needed replies, constantly tried to keep her attention alive every minute of the day. The second man was warm, present, emotionally open, but he still had his own rhythm, his own mission, his own inner world. And over time, something interesting happened. The woman stopped thinking about the first man the moment he disappeared, but she kept wondering about the second, not because he played games, but because his life did not revolve entirely around being desired. That difference matters deeply, because emotionally grounded men do not rush intimacy out of fear. They allow connection to unfold naturally, and women feel that Emotional calmness immediately, especially today, when so many people desperately try to force attachment as quickly as possible. Real masculine mystery is not coldness, it is emotional fullness, a rich inner life, a man who enjoys connection, without emotionally clinging to it, a man who can be present without becoming dependent, a man who does not constantly ask, "Do you still like me?" because his sense of self already exists beyond external validation, and perhaps this is why curiosity feels so powerful in attraction, because curiosity keeps emotional energy moving. It keeps two people leaning forward emotionally instead of settling backward into predictability. After all, people rarely obsess over what they completely understand, they obsess over what continues unfolding in their mind long after the interaction ends, and honestly, that is why mystery feels unforgettable, not because it creates confusion, but because it keeps emotional discovery alive, and maybe that is the deeper lesson here. You do not create attraction by constantly forcing your presence into someone's life. Sometimes attraction grows strongest in the quiet emotional space, where curiosity is allowed to breathe. And once a man stops trying to force attraction, something interesting begins to happen. People start feeling his energy before he even speaks, because presence is powerful like that, you can sense it instantly. Some men walk into a room desperately trying to be noticed, talking loudly, performing constantly, trying to prove confidence through humor, status, attention, or volume, but other men enter quietly, and somehow still change the emotional atmosphere completely. Why? Because real presence is not performance, it is nervous system stability, it is emotional calmness made visible, and women notice this faster than most men realize. A woman may forget your exact words, but she rarely forgets how your energy made her feel. Did your presence feel grounded, calm, safe, emotionally settled, or did your energy feel restless, needy, anxious for approval? Because energy always speaks before language does. People can hear insecurity, even through confident words, long before attraction becomes logical. It first becomes emotional. There's a reason some people immediately feel comforting to be around, while others create tension without saying anything wrong. Human beings constantly communicate emotionally through tone, posture, pacing, eye contact, and nervous system energy, and women are incredibly sensitive to these signals, especially emotional incongruence. When a man tries to appear confident externally, while internally seeking validation from everyone around him, people feel that disconnect immediately, even if they cannot explain it logically. That is why genuine masculine presence feels so rare today. Most people are overstimulated, emotionally reactive, constantly trying to prove themselves online and offline. Everyone is rushing, interrupting, seeking attention, reacting instantly to every emotion they feel. So when someone carries genuine calmness, it feels different, almost magnetic. There's an old story about a young man who once asked a mentor, "How do certain men naturally command respect without forcing it?" And the mentor answered, "Because they stopped entering rooms hoping to be accepted by them." That answer carries enormous truth, because desperation leaks through behavior in subtle ways, trying too hard to sound impressive, trying too hard to be funny, trying too hard to appear important. All of it quietly communicates the same thing: I need your approval to feel valuable. And women feel that emotional neediness immediately, not consciously perhaps, but emotionally. On the other hand, grounded men move differently. They are comfortable with silence, comfortable listening, comfortable not being the center of attention every second. They do not rush their speech, do not force reactions, do not emotionally collapse if they are not admired by everyone in the room. And ironically, that emotional independence creates powerful attraction, because calmness signals self-trust. A man who trusts himself does not constantly need external confirmation. That is why true confidence often appears quiet, not weak, not passive, quiet, like a mountain that does not need to announce its strength. And perhaps this is why presence matters so deeply in attraction, because before people fully understand who you are, they first experience how it feels to exist around your energy, and the men who leave the deepest impressions are rarely the loudest ones, they are usually the ones whose calmness makes everyone else feel calmer too. And once a man develops genuine presence, another truth becomes impossible to ignore: attraction and desperation cannot survive together for very long, because the moment a man becomes emotionally desperate, his entire energy changes. At first, he may feel calm, grounded, confident, but the moment he becomes afraid of losing someone, something begins collapsing internally. He overthinks every message, needs reassurance constantly, panics when communication changes, feels emotionally unstable the moment uncertainty appears, and without realizing it, he slowly abandons himself trying to hold on to someone else. That is what desperation really is, not love, fear, and fear makes people abandon their dignity faster than they realize: fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, fear that losing this person somehow means losing your value too. And fear has a very recognizable emotional energy: it clings, pressures, chases, which is why desperate behavior quietly destroys attraction over time, not because caring is unattractive, but because emotional dependency creates emotional exhaustion. Think about it honestly: have you ever been around someone who constantly needed reassurance from you, someone who always needed proof that you cared, proof that you weren't leaving, proof that they were still enough? At first, maybe it felt flattering, but eventually, it became heavy, because emotionally dependent energy creates pressure, and pressure suffocates emotional freedom. That's the part many men misunderstand. Love grows best where emotional freedom still exists, not where fear constantly tightens its grip around the relationship. There's a painful pattern many men repeat without noticing: the more emotionally attached they become, the more they slowly abandon the very qualities that created attraction in the beginning. Their confidence disappears, their emotional balance disappears, their purpose disappears, their entire emotional world starts revolving around one person, and ironically, that emotional collapse often pushes the other person away. There's an old saying: people are attracted to your wholeness, not your emotional hunger, and perhaps nothing explains desperation better than that, because emotionally grounded men may deeply love someone, but they never hand over their entire identity. In the process, they do not beg to be chosen, do not chase people who repeatedly disrespect them, do not sacrifice their dignity trying to force connection where mutual effort no longer exists. And women notice this immediately, because self-respect is deeply attractive, not arrogance, not emotional coldness. Self-respect, the ability to say, I care about you deeply, but I will not destroy myself trying to keep you. That energy feels emotionally safe, mature, stable, especially in a world where so many people emotionally collapse the moment love becomes uncertain. There's a painful sentence many men hear only after the relationship is already dying: I feel pressured around you. And honestly, most men never see that moment coming, because they confuse emotional attachment with love. But attachment driven by fear eventually suffocates the very connection it's trying to protect, and perhaps this is why desperation quietly destroys attraction, because desperation says, my emotional survival depends on whether you stay, while grounded confidence says, I may love you deeply, but I will still remain whole even if life changes. That difference changes everything, because emotionally secure people do not force love, they allow it. They do not chase validation endlessly, they build lives strong enough that love becomes part of their peace, not the entire source of it. And ironically, the men who are least desperate for attention often become the most unforgettable, Because calm self-respect carries a kind of emotional gravity that desperation never can, a quiet strength that says, I know who I am, even when I am not being chosen, and once a man stops chasing validation, something powerful begins returning to his life: direction, purpose, a reason to wake up that exists beyond attention, romance, or approval. And women feel this difference immediately, because there is something deeply attractive about a man whose life is moving somewhere meaningful, not loudly, not arrogantly, but intentionally. A man with purpose carries a completely different emotional energy. His attention is not constantly consumed by who texted him back, his mood does not rise and fall every hour based on someone else's attention. His identity is rooted in something deeper than temporary emotional validation, and perhaps this is where many men lose themselves without realizing it. At first, they fall in love, then slowly, they abandon themselves inside the relationship. Their goals become less important, their discipline weakens, their routines disappear, their entire emotional world starts orbiting around one person, and at first, this level of devotion may even seem romantic, but over time, something begins to feel emotionally heavy, because no healthy relationship can survive when one person becomes the entire source of meaning for the other. That kind of attachment creates pressure, and pressure slowly suffocates attraction. There's a painful sentence many men hear only after it's too late: you stopped feeling like yourself. That sentence destroys people because deep down, they know it's true. They became so afraid of losing the relationship that they slowly lost their own direction instead. That's how many men lose themselves, not suddenly, but relationship by relationship. And ironically, the more a man abandons his own purpose, the less emotionally attractive he often becomes, because women are not only attracted to love, they are attracted to movement, to growth, to masculine direction. A man with purpose feels emotionally alive, not because he ignores relationships, but because his life still belongs to him. He still has discipline, standards, responsibilities, dreams pulling him forward, and women feel emotionally safe around men who move through life with that kind of grounded direction. Because purpose creates emotional stability, it creates structure, and structure feels incredibly rare today. Most people drift emotionally from distraction to distraction, validation to validation, temporary pleasure to temporary pleasure. But a man with purpose moves differently. He thinks long-term, acts intentionally, builds patiently, even when nobody is watching. And perhaps that is why purpose feels so magnetic, because purpose naturally creates self-respect. A man who respects his future does not sabotage his life for temporary emotional comfort. He does not abandon his values trying to keep someone interested. He does not place romance above his own growth. Instead, he builds quietly, one habit, one decision, one disciplined day at a time. There's an old idea in Stoicism that says, a man must stand for something greater than his emotions, and perhaps that is exactly what women feel when they encounter a man with genuine purpose, not perfection, not status, direction, a sense that this man's life has meaning beyond immediate gratification, and that energy changes attraction completely. Because women are not only drawn toward the man you are today, they are drawn toward the direction your life is moving. Momentum itself becomes attractive, especially in a world filled with emotionally lost people searching desperately for identity in external attention. That is why purpose often creates attraction without effort, because a man with genuine direction no longer walks through life asking, who will complete me? He is already building a life worth inviting someone into. And there is something deeply powerful about a man whose peace, discipline, and purpose still remain intact, even when nobody is there to applaud him for it. And once a man finds purpose, another challenge quietly appears: learning how to open his heart, without losing himself in the process. because this is where many men become deeply confused. For years, they were taught, never show emotion, never be vulnerable, stay hard all the time. Then suddenly, the world tells them the opposite: open up more, express everything, be emotionally available. And somewhere between emotional suppression and emotional oversharing, many men lose balance completely, because vulnerability without emotional stability becomes emotional chaos, and emotional chaos slowly destroys attraction. Women do want emotional connection, deeply, but emotional connection is very different from emotional dependency. A woman wants to feel your depth, not become responsible for carrying your emotional weight every day. That distinction changes everything. There's a huge difference between a man saying, "This experience changed me," and a man emotionally collapsing. Every time life becomes difficult, one feels emotionally grounded, the other feels emotionally unstable, and women feel that difference immediately, because true masculine vulnerability is calm. It is honest without becoming overwhelming, open without becoming emotionally uncontrolled. Think about the ocean. The deepest waters often appear calmest on the surface, not because there is no depth underneath, but because true depth does not constantly need to prove itself. That is emotional strength. Not pretending to feel nothing, but being strong enough to feel deeply without drowning in every emotion that passes through you. Unfortunately, many men confuse emotional dumping with intimacy. The moment they feel connected to someone, they release every insecurity, every unresolved wound, every fear all at once, not because they are emotionally open, but because they are emotionally starving, and hungry people often confuse emotional relief with love. That's the painful part, and women often feel this immediately, because unresolved emotional pain creates emotional pressure inside relationships, especially when one person unconsciously expects the other to become their therapist, rescuer, or emotional stabilizer. That kind of emotional weight eventually becomes exhausting. There's a painful reality many men discover too late. When a woman says, "I feel emotionally drained around you," what she often means is, "I no longer feel safe carrying emotions you refuse to manage yourself." That sentence hurts because it exposes something deeper: self-regulation. Emotionally mature men still feel pain, still feel fear, still experience heartbreak, but they take responsibility for their emotional world. They do not hand it completely to someone else hoping to be saved. That is why controlled vulnerability feels so attractive, because it creates intimacy without emotional instability. A grounded man can talk about failure, loss, fear, disappointment, but he speaks from awareness, not emotional collapse. His emotions do not control the room, he controls how those emotions are expressed, and that emotional discipline feels incredibly safe, especially in a world filled with emotionally reactive people, people who explode during conflict, withdraw emotionally, manipulate through guilt, or become emotionally destructive the moment they feel wounded. So when a woman meets a man who can remain emotionally honest while still remaining emotionally centered, it feels rare, because she no longer feels responsible for managing his entire emotional state. Instead, she feels invited into his inner world, without becoming trapped inside it. And perhaps that is the deeper truth about vulnerability. Real vulnerability is not emotional exposure without limits. It is emotional honesty guided by self-awareness, the ability to reveal your heart, without losing your emotional foundation, because true masculine strength is not emotional suppression, nor emotional chaos, it is emotional mastery, the ability to remain grounded while still remaining deeply human. And maybe that is what women truly long for. Deep down, not a perfect man, not an emotionless man, but a man whose emotions feel steady enough to build peace around. And perhaps this is where attraction becomes real, not during chemistry, not during flirting, not during easy moments, but during pressure, because pressure reveals parts of people that comfort keeps hidden. Anyone can appear confident when life feels smooth. Anyone can seem emotionally strong when they are loved, admired, and emotionally secure. But tension changes people, conflict changes people, uncertainty changes people, and women pay close attention to these moments, far more than most men realize, because deep down, a woman is constantly observing one silent question: what happens to this man when life stops going his way? Does he remain grounded, or does he emotionally unravel? Because emotional pressure exposes the nervous system underneath the performance. A man may look calm externally for months, but one difficult moment can reveal insecurity he has been hiding the entire time. Suddenly he becomes reactive, defensive, controlling, emotionally impulsive, and the energy changes immediately. That's the part many men never notice. Attraction rarely disappears in one dramatic explosion. Sometimes it slowly fades through repeated emotional instability, through tension, overreactions, emotional unpredictability. There's an old saying, pressure doesn't create character, it reveals it. And honestly, anyone can appear emotionally strong when they are being loved. Pressure reveals the truth, and nowhere is that more visible than inside relationships, because relationships naturally bring uncertainty, misunderstandings, stress, emotional discomfort. Life itself begins testing both people over time: financial problems, distance, failure, unexpected change, moments where emotions become difficult to control, and in those moments, your nervous system speaks louder than your words ever will. Do you panic immediately? Do you emotionally shut down? Do you become aggressive the moment you feel misunderstood? Or can you remain emotionally composed while still remaining emotionally present? That balance matters deeply, because calmness under pressure feels emotionally safe. Especially today, most people react instantly to discomfort. They argue instantly, defend instantly, explode instantly. But emotionally grounded men move differently. They pause, observe, breathe, think before reacting, and that pause changes everything. Because emotional reactions are instinctive, but emotional control is intentional, and intentional behavior creates trust. There's a reason storms reveal the strength of a structure. Weak foundations collapse quickly, strong foundations bend, but remain standing. Human beings are no different, and perhaps this is why emotionally stable men feel so rare, not because they never feel anger, fear, or frustration, but because they do not allow temporary emotions to control permanent decisions. That restraint creates a kind of quiet power, not power over others, power over yourself, which is far more important. There's a moment many women remember clearly after leaving emotionally unstable relationships. It's not always the arguments themselves, it's the feeling of never knowing what emotional version of the man they would encounter next. Calm one day, explosive the next, affectionate one moment, cold the next. That unpredictability slowly destroys emotional safety, and once emotional safety disappears, attraction often follows it. Because women are not only observing how you love when life feels easy, they are observing who you become when life becomes difficult. Can you remain calm without becoming emotionally distant? Can you remain kind without becoming weak? Can you remain emotionally grounded when pressure enters the room? Those questions matter more than appearance, more than charm, more than confidence performed during comfortable moments, because eventually, attraction always leaves fantasy and enters reality, and reality tests emotional stability very quickly. That is why emotionally grounded men leave such deep impressions, not because they control others, but because they have learned how to remain steady within themselves, even when life around them is not. And once a man learns how to remain calm under pressure, another transformation quietly begins. He stops fearing rejection, not because rejection suddenly stops hurting, but because his self-worth is no longer completely controlled by other people's approval. and that kind of confidence feels incredibly rare today, because most people are terrified of rejection, terrified of not being chosen, terrified of hearing no, so they spend their lives trying to avoid emotional discomfort at all costs. They become overly accommodating, emotionally performative, people-pleasing versions of themselves, not because they are genuinely kind, but because they are afraid that losing someone means losing their value too, and women feel this fear immediately, because fear always changes behavior. A man who deeply fears rejection often stops acting naturally, he says what he thinks she wants to hear, hides his real opinions, overextends himself for approval, tries too hard to maintain connection. And slowly, he disconnects from his authentic self completely. That's the painful irony. The more desperately a man tries to avoid rejection, the less emotionally attractive he often becomes, because insecurity always leaks through behavior, even when words sound confident. There's an old truth many men learn too late: anyone can look confident when they're being chosen. Rejection reveals the truth, because rejection exposes where your identity is actually rooted. If your entire self-worth depends on external validation, rejection will emotionally destroy you, but insecure people often experience it exactly that way, as proof they are not enough, not lovable enough, not attractive enough, not worthy enough, and that is why rejection hurts some people far more deeply than others, because it touches wounds that already existed long before the relationship began. But emotionally grounded men respond differently. When they experience rejection, they may feel disappointed, even hurt, but they do not emotionally collapse. They do not beg, do not chase endlessly, do not destroy their dignity trying to convince someone to stay, because they understand something important. Rejection is not proof of worthlessness, it is simply incompatibility, and that mindset creates emotional freedom. There's something deeply powerful about people who can hear no without losing themselves afterward, because it shows emotional stability. It shows that their confidence was never built entirely on being desired by others. Think about how many people become emotionally consumed after rejection, obsessing, overanalyzing, trying to prove themselves worthy again, not because they lost love, but because rejection touched an insecurity they never healed. That's the deeper wound, and no amount of external validation can permanently heal internal insecurity. Only self-respect can do that. Perhaps this is why confidence after rejection feels so attractive, because it signals emotional abundance, not arrogance, not ego, inner stability. A grounded man understands that not every connection is meant to last, not every person is meant to choose him, and not every rejection needs to become emotional suffering. Sometimes people simply move in different directions. Emotionally mature men accept this without bitterness, without revenge, without becoming emotionally destructive afterward. That calm acceptance feels incredibly rare today, especially in a culture where many people build their identity entirely around attention and validation. One rejection becomes an identity crisis, one breakup becomes proof they are unlovable. But emotionally grounded men move differently. They grieve without collapsing, learn without becoming cynical, move forward without losing their softness, and women notice this deeply, because there is something incredibly safe about a man who does not emotionally fall apart every time life wounds him, a man who can experience disappointment without becoming emotionally destructive afterward. And perhaps this is the deeper truth: confidence is not believing everyone will choose you, it is knowing you will still remain whole even if they don't. That is real emotional strength, quiet, grounded, unshaken, and real emotional strength is unforgettable. And perhaps this brings us to the final truth, one of the most misunderstood parts of attraction: mystery, not manipulation, not emotional games, not pretending not to care, but maintaining enough depth that another person never feels they have completely reached the end of you. Because human beings are naturally drawn toward discovery, toward emotional depth, toward things that continue unfolding over time, and women feel this very strongly, especially in a world where almost everything has become instant messaging, instant validation, instant emotional exposure. People reveal their entire inner world within days, sometimes within hours, every thought posted publicly, every emotion immediately expressed. Nothing remains sacred anymore, nothing unfolds slowly, but emotional attraction often depends on gradual discovery. Think about the people who left the deepest impression on your life. Were they completely predictable from the beginning, or did they slowly reveal themselves layer by layer? That unfolding creates emotional investment, because mystery keeps imagination alive, and imagination is one of the strongest emotional forces in attraction. This is why some people become forgettable very quickly, not because they lacked value, but because they rushed emotional certainty too fast. Every feeling explained immediately, every insecurity revealed instantly, every emotional card placed on the table before real emotional trust had time to grow. And once there is nothing left to discover, emotional tension quietly disappears. That's the part many people never understand. Attraction rarely dies loudly. Sometimes it fades through emotional overexposure. When nothing feels rare anymore, nothing feels emotionally earned, nothing invites curiosity, because human beings naturally lean toward what still contains depth. There's an old story about a woman who once described two different men she dated. One constantly demanded closeness, constant communication, constant reassurance. He wanted complete emotional certainty all the time. The other man was warm, present, emotionally open, but he still had his own rhythm, his own purpose, his own inner world. And years later, she admitted something interesting: I understood the first man immediately, but the second one stayed in my mind for years. That sentence explains mystery perfectly, because emotional depth cannot be rushed. It unfolds naturally, like chapters in a meaningful book, not headlines desperately trying to capture attention. And emotionally mature men understand this deeply. They do not force intimacy out of loneliness, do not rush emotional exposure trying to secure attachment quickly. Instead, they allow connection to breathe, to grow, to deepen gradually over time. Because real masculine mystery is not emotional distance, it is emotional fullness, a rich inner life, a man who enjoys connection, without emotionally clinging to it, a man whose life still contains dreams, thoughts, experiences, and growth beyond the relationship itself. And women feel deeply drawn toward this kind of grounded depth, because it creates curiosity without emotional instability. A woman begins wondering, what else exists beneath the surface of this man? And that question keeps emotional attraction alive far longer than temporary excitement ever could. Perhaps that is the deeper lesson behind everything we talked about today. Attraction is rarely created through force, it is created through emotional energy, through presence, self-respect, purpose, emotional steadiness, and the ability to remain fully yourself without desperately chasing validation from the outside world. Because the men women remember most are rarely the loudest men, they are usually the grounded ones, the emotionally calm ones, the men who make others feel safe without losing themselves in the process. And perhaps that is what true masculine strength really is: not domination, not emotional suppression, but self-mastery, the ability to carry peace inside yourself, even in a chaotic world. The world is full of loud men seeking attention, rare men create peace instead. If this video spoke to you, consider subscribing to Stoic Havenway, where we explore emotional mastery, Stoic wisdom, modern psychology, and the deeper truths most people only understand after pain forces them to. Until next time, stay grounded, stay disciplined, and remember, in a world addicted to attention, peaceful men feel almost legendary.